Right now, Btimine, BMNR, is entering a phase where the data matters more than the price. Today, we're looking at what the data actually reveals. Welcome to Big B USA Stock, your daily source for U.S. stock market updates, trends, and insights. Stay ahead, stay informed. Subscribe now for daily update. This video is for educational purposes only. It is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. Btimine, BMNR, has been moving through a highly uncertain cycle, and investors have been trying to understand whether the recent shift in price action is a temporary fluctuation or the beginning of something structurally different. The past few weeks brought volatility and hesitation across the broader market, pulling Btimine, BMNR, downward. But the most recent sessions show a slow yet visible change in sentiment. Instead of deepening weakness, the stock is beginning to stabilize, creating early signs of a potential transition phase. While this does not confirm any guaranteed direction, it highlights that the underlying mechanics of Btimine, BMNR, are evolving. The stock's price behavior through the last month reflects a period of repeated lower lows followed by consolidation. But the last several trading days show Btimine, BMNR, forming stronger support levels, rejecting deeper downside, and displaying higher low patterns. These technical behaviors, combined with increasing consistency on volume spikes, suggest the stock may be exiting its oversold phase. Such formations typically appear when selling pressure exhausts and new buyers begin stepping in gradually. Whether this shift leads to a full trend reversal depends on upcoming sessions, but the structural change is worth noting. Outside of price movements, BMNR's ecosystem activity is becoming one of the strongest signals in its favor. Q4 engagement levels across the company's operational metrics are pacing ahead of Q3 totals, indicating rising adoption and user activity. This matters because long-term growth stocks rarely move solely on price momentum. Instead, they strengthen when their underlying usage expands. Increasing ecosystem activity strengthens BMNR's fundamental base, often preceding revenue improvements in later cycles. Historically, companies showing early adoption expansion tend to experience sentiment shifts before financial statements reflect the improvement. BMNR is beginning to show exactly that type of pattern. Another major factor influencing BMNR is the shift happening across global financial systems. Large institutions worldwide, including payment networks, legacy banks, and major financial organizations, are accelerating their transition toward digital-first frameworks. This broad shift enhances the importance of companies positioned toward technology, innovation, and scalable infrastructure. BMNR stands to benefit from these trends because digital-oriented markets typically redirect liquidity toward companies with scalable potential and operational adaptability. As financial behavior continues evolving, BMNR becomes better aligned with sectors receiving increased investor attention. Institutional activity around BMNR is one of the clearest and most measurable indicators of changing sentiment. Over the past several weeks, accumulation has quietly increased. This is not aggressive buying that forces sudden spikes. Instead, it reflects slow, deliberate position building. When institutional buying rises during periods of weakness, it sends a strong signal that long-term investors see value in discounted levels. This pattern often leads to tighter share availability in public markets. When a stock's float begins to tighten, meaning fewer shares are frequently traded, price moves become more sensitive to demand. BMNR appears to be entering that phase, where gradual accumulation could set the stage for stronger future volatility on the upside. Market liquidity also plays a crucial role. Several macro indicators show that global liquidity conditions are reversing from a restrictive environment toward a more supportive phase. Reverse repo balances have dropped significantly. Central banks across multiple regions are injecting liquidity, and monetary tightening cycles are slowing down. Historically, when liquidity expands, growth-focused equities respond strongly. BMNR, being sensitive to liquidity conditions, is positioned to benefit from this environmental shift. As liquidity re-enters markets, investors increase exposure to companies capable of scaling during expansion cycles, a category BMNR fits. Another important factor is the supply-demand dynamics of BMNR shares. As institutional accumulation increases and more shareholders hold positions for longer periods, circulating supply decreases. This tightening supply has two effects. It reduces selling pressure and increases the responsiveness of price to new inflows. Stocks with tightening floats often experience sharp directional moves once momentum builds. BMNR's current structure suggests that more shares are moving into stable ownership, decreasing daily turnover and preparing the stock for stronger reactions to future buying pressure. Macro catalysts continue aligning in BMNR's favor. The The probability of interest rate cuts is rising based on current economic indicators. Signs of slowing inflation and a softer monetary stance are emerging across major economic regions. Lower interest rates generally increase investor appetite for growth companies, as borrowing becomes cheaper and future earnings become more valuable in valuation models. Alongside this, quantitative tightening appears to be reaching its final stages. Historically, markets show strong performance when tightening ends and liquidity begins to expand again. BMNR could be entering this macro-supported phase at an ideal time. Sentiment indicators around BMNR are also shifting. For weeks, the stock's sentiment was dominated by fear and caution. But recent market behavior shows movement toward a neutral zone where investors assess fundamentals more calmly. This transition from fear to neutral is one of the earliest stages of recovery in market psychology. Typically, the timeline looks like this: fear, neutral, accumulation, momentum, breakout. BMNR appears to be between the neutral and early accumulation stages. If indicators continue strengthening, momentum could gradually build as confidence returns. Long-term catalysts further support BMNR's potential. The company's ecosystem expansion, improving operational metrics, increasing institutional participation, and alignment with industry trends all contribute to a foundation for multi-year growth. As the global financial environment transitions toward more accommodative conditions, companies like BMNR, which rely on innovation, efficiency, and scalable platforms, tend to outperform across extended periods. These catalysts don't predict guaranteed outcomes, but they highlight that BMNR is structurally positioned for future opportunity. In conclusion, BMNR is entering a phase defined by stabilization, growing accumulation, better macro conditions, tightening supply, strengthening ecosystem activity, and improving sentiment. The stock is currently in a pre-momentum stage, a phase where underlying factors begin aligning before any major directional move. The next several weeks will be crucial in determining whether BMNR transitions into a stronger trend or continues consolidating. What's clear from the data is that the environment around BMNR today is considerably stronger than it was just a few weeks ago. The direction will be determined by upcoming market behavior, but the foundation forming underneath the stock is materially improving. This was Big B Stock USA, bringing you the latest updates from the U.S. markets. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.